What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome back to another watch list video. I hope you all had a great day because software certainly did. What a move in that basket today following last night's earnings, right? We saw a number of powerful gap ups, many software names continuing higher throughout the session. Several of those could develop into actionable setups for me over the next few days or even the next few weeks, right? QQQ reclaiming its 50-day moving average day and moving back above its other key moving averages, right? I'm viewing this personally as a potential change in character for the market right for now, but a lot of groups, did not act the same way, but I'm focused primarily on the long side, especially in groups like IGV, Cyber, XBI, ArcG, IBIT, and maybe some gold names and things like that because they're digesting in a super nice way after big moves out, right? And I may add a few more individual names or groups as fresh leadership develops and maybe some more names continue to set up, right? I was also considering adding the Magnificent Seven really onto that list. And I still may, as far as focus, but, Amazon's a turd right now. It's really just the range has been trash. On the other hand, though, NVIDIA, when the absolute monster day today, and Microsoft just continues higher every single day, slowly grind its way up throughout the week and just acts very well. So, if you're able to position yourself in some of these opening range breaks right off the open from some earnings gap ups in the morning, um, you know, pat yourself on the back. But after such a weak market environment recently, buying gap ups it wasn't easy, right? Not saying that it wasn't doable, but it just was not very easy. But if you saw the opportunity as far as, you know, uh, cybersecurity names emerging. These have been big relative strength leaders, and software in general. Just in the last month, 3 months, last few months. So if you see these things gapping up and you see it as a viable opportunity, like I said, pat yourself on the back. I feel like I could have personally positioned myself and capitalized better on the gap ups. But if you're able to get yourself positioned, great work, right? That being said, QQQ is back above all the major moving averages, and we know where money is rotating. It's very clear, and it's right in front of our face, right? Gap ups to monitor. NVIDIA, obviously, like I talked about, going to be watching this one tomorrow. CRM's another one on earnings. Big move. CrowdStrike, big. 20% gap up today. OKTA's another one, right? 28% gap up. VEEV, 15% gap up. This is also, I'm pretty sure this is a software related name. Nonetheless, it's healthcare. Palo Alto was another one, not on earnings. ZETA, and the rest of these I'll go on, not on earnings. ZETA, ZETA, not on earnings. Big gap up. Frog, not on earnings. 12% gap up. FTNT, no earnings, but a 9% gap and hold. Centennial one, another one. This one has earnings after the close. I think it's slightly down, right? Same thing with Rubrik, but 10% gap up today. And then Rubrik was another big one today, but this thing is down to 99 bucks in the close after being up 11% today. So pretty much gave back the whole move plus some more, which is not my favorite thing to see. A little weird, but we'll see, right? Like you talked about earnings after the close, you got Rubrik down more than 6%. Iron reported as well, down about 8%. Marvell, another one down about 8%, and then Affirm up 10%, and then ESTC, another software related name, up 20% in the after hour. So you're still getting some software stuff rocketing, but overall it was a little weird to see Rubrik down 6% on such a good report, and then Marvell in that semis group maybe going to be dragging that one down a little bit more, and then Iron. Those names just continue to act weak. Very interesting reactions after the bell. Volatility remains elevated across the whole market. Some groups are acting absolute horrible, and in fact most groups are acting horrible, and then there's an absolute standout, so you can clearly see where money is rotating. Today's NAAIM exposure data came in pretty hot, so we'll see what that develops into. But for now, I think your Nasdaq's big character change, right? Index back above its key moving averages. I'll say that 5 times, but I think this is a big improvement in the short term. We'll see what can come from that, whether we continue higher for the next few days or maybe tighten up a little bit so we get a few more setups in this next week. I think the quality of setups has been very poor. Like there still has been some stuff, right? Software, cybersecurity, but in the next week, maybe we can get some more possibilities on setups and then things continuing to fall through. I think that would be very healthy and something I'd like to see. SPY, the quadruple inside day, breaks out, appears to be confirming that higher low. Super nice look. Your Russell IWM, super tight, so tight, like over a week tight. I think there's a big chance that this thing can push through this range and break higher tomorrow. We'll have to see. Breath, though, overall good day today, which makes, considering the massive moves in software, obviously, going forward, I just like to see this continue, to grow. Some stronger breath thrust next week would be awesome. Maybe, leadership continues to lead and more groups start to emerge, and even stuff that's been beaten up emerge while the other groups are still continue higher, and you know where to focus when it comes to that, right? Everything we talked about. Going over the groups here, IGV, right? Absolute monster. I'm gonna try to go through these super quick, right? I talked about CRM. Team was another one, big move today. FIG, awesome move. Path, huge move. TTAN. If I can spell this right. You know, up 9% today. GitLab, another one up almost 9% today. 5in, another one right at the pivot, but a really nice 8% day. QLYS, right? You had the undercut and rally of the 20-day of that prior left side low, and a really nice continuation day with some little bit of above average volume. It's awesome. This group is rocking. Even Twilio's up. GWRE, right? This thing was an absolute piece of shit last month, or you know, the last 2 or 3 months, and now it's an absolute rocket, straight up off the lows, pretty much. Just, and not even straight up, right? Just a super nice higher, you know, building higher lows, higher highs, and just in an awesome trend. Another one up 5% today. And Shopify, consider this still a software stock, you know, right back at the earnings high pivot. It's been acting awesome in the last week, inside day yesterday, and then just a continuation higher, up about 2%. But unfortunately, you know, for every, you know, Shopify or GWRE or Twilio or Path, whatever, there is a toast. And I got stopped out on this one today. Very unfortunate, right? Sad to see that this one was acting so well when everything was acting horrible. And then the market, specifically IGV, has an awesome day, and this thing shits the bed. So toast got toasted, but it is what it is. Cyber, I'm not going to go through all these because I pretty much already did, but Palo Alto, right? Awesome. ZS is another one where it's back above the 200-day. It's also building somewhat of a nice stage 1 looking base, maybe moves into stage 2B, right? Gives us a nice breakout. And then Net, right, in that cybersecurity group, really nice day today. Don't see a spot to buy this one. And a few of the other names on my list, same thing. Don't really see a spot to buy it just yet, but in the next few days, man, we could get some nice higher low setups. That's specifically what I'll be looking for. So we'll see. I think this weekend will be key, as long as we don't get absolutely hammered tomorrow. But nonetheless, this week will be key to just scan all the weekly charts, find the best ones, and come next week prepared, right? ARC was nice today, right? Pushing out of that base. It has a massive base that it is, you know, finally pushing out and building higher lows and higher highs, and another good day today off the inside day. So that was awesome to see. And Kathy owns TEM. SpaceX is trying to build a higher low, some sort of a flag. It's building a little bit of a range. I'd like to see it pop up and then get tight again, because it, you know, it had a nice pop in here, got tight, and then it kind of failed. 20-day was maybe a good spot, but slowly grinding higher here. So maybe give us a push day and then get tight again, or we'll see what can happen. But it's just getting really tight under that IPO low. It's a name I'm continuing to keep an eye on. Circle, I did pick up some Circle today. 10% position, right? This group, as far as your IBIT group, has been awesome, and I'll go through that right after this. But Twist, right? Another ARC holding, continue higher. Hood, double inside day, part of that ARC holding, and then Shopify. We talked about this, right? She's in some good names that are acting awesome for now, so we'll have to see. IBIT though, getting into the Bitcoin and crypto area, right? IBIT just continue higher today. ETHA, same thing, right? A little bit of a red today, but maybe some digestion is needed, some pullbacks needed. I'm not personally buying these up here, but PURR was an absolute beast off the highest volume ever. And another big continuation day today, up 10%. Did you know, close with a nice top wick, came back a little bit towards the end of the day. It is what it is. Hood is also possibly in that group. Double inside day. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on. It's not on the list, but we'll have to see. I will say the XLF doesn't look too bad as far as a few other names in there. They've been acting awesome, like, you know, Visa, I think it is, right? Visa kind of broke out of a pivot the other day. So, you know, this group's still acting pretty good, but the IBIT group, maybe a little bit short-term extended. We'll have to see. But the, you know, theme is there in Bitcoin, and it's a group I want to be involved in and want to continue to keep an eye on. Looks awesome. Magnificent 7. Awesome inside day yesterday, and then a push through today, got super tight, and I love to see it. Little mini ascending mini base, and we're pushing out of it, so it's awesome. But you know, Amazon just is not that good, so I don't want to go for that one. NVDA, I'm going to be watching this one tomorrow, and I'll go over my watches super quick at the end, but nonetheless, this NVIDIA looks pretty damn good. And Microsoft, like I talked about, still grinding higher. Copper continues to act awesome. You know, a lot of people thought, or you know, positioning's crowded. A lot of people thought maybe this thing was going to fail, and it's not, and it's acting awesome, and it's trying to build higher lows, and the rest of the group looks awesome. TGB continuing higher today. FCX, another one, you know, double inside day, or just, you know, 2 days low volume, just slowly pulling back. Looks like it wants to continue to push higher if it can find support. Same thing with HBM, another one. SCCO is building a flag right under a prior high pivot. Looks good to me. As long as these don't fail and they can continue higher, I think that that group is still definitely intact. Moving over to your ARCG. Right, double inside day. This group, genomics, still remains awesome. I talked about twist. TXG is kind of going sideways the last 4 days. Right, it looks fine. Looks like it wants to either continue going higher or not. Not enough, not tight enough setup for me to be buying it up here. Like as far as from a risk to reward, it's kind of already made that big move. CRSP maybe trying to emerge out of that big base I talked about yesterday. Double inside day, interesting. It's not on my list, but GH is a name I own. Did was a little bit heavy today as far as closing at the lows, but inside day, weekly chart looks fine. We'll have to see how it acts tomorrow, but if it can push through the pivot, I would maybe try to consider adding some onto here. But I will say that Eli Lilly actually, this thing acts like a complete turd, which not surprised because, I bought this thing as a higher low setup, not as a breakout, and it still came back and failed on me in a really ugly way yesterday. So, I'm not surprised, and it's not a name I want to be going for, especially not after that bar yesterday. So it is what it is. I'll just continue to monitor it, see if it wants to turn back around and maybe reset back up. But for now, I really did not like that bar yesterday. The XBI with the double inside day, this thing is looking so good. This is one of the best looking ETFs right now. So I definitely want to continue to keep an eye on this. I got Moderna on the list, right? 2 days low volume, pretty tight. I'm going to be watching this over the prior day. How I will go over that. CDNA, talked about this high tight flag is moving out the last 2 days. 2 or 3 days, right? It doesn't look too bad. ARCT is another one, right? I mean, this thing's starting to go parabolic, if not already. And then TGTX is another one where it's getting super tight right under a prior pivot. I think this is, if you go to a bigger time frame, right? Yeah, the prior high. It's trying to build a flag under it, so it doesn't look too bad. Maybe this one's playable through today's highs. Another one you could continue to keep an eye on. I think it's pretty interesting there. So I like the bar today, and it doesn't look too bad. XLE, right? Inside day, this looks awesome. So maybe this can continue higher. The market get a little bit of cool off after the big gap up and push today. Don't want to see too bad in a failure, but PARR with an inside day, DK with, I think is another one inside day, right? These names are looking pretty good to me. PBF, another one inside day, trying to build a higher low. I see a higher low setup. So maybe in the morning I'll have to throw 1 or 2 of these on the list and keep an eye on it through the prior day's high. But those are the names I'd be looking at. XLF I talked about, right? It's still just building a nice pivot. Looks like it wants to just build higher lows into it. Interesting to say the least. Hood has been acting awesome the last week. IBKR, another one, had a nice move on Monday or Tuesday, and then consolidating a nice way right under a big pivot. Wouldn't be surprised to see this breaking higher. And then the absolute turd, but one of the most important groups, is your SMH. Nice to see it back above the 10 and 20. You got Marvell in the after hours down, whatever it was, down 8% or something like that. Nonetheless, there's nothing in this group that I'm personally focusing on for now. TSM, nice to see it back above the 50-day. SMTC, another one, it's back above the 50-day from yesterday, resting a little bit today. But NVIDIA, man, this thing's a beast. And I do want to keep an eye on this one. I mean, you get a gap up like this, it's super important. It could be a high volume close setup. That's what I'll be playing it as tomorrow if it can trigger. But the next few days, even maybe the group wakes up and this thing can give us a sideways setup, maybe a higher low or something, or builds a mini flag here. Nonetheless, it's something I want to keep an eye on because one of the biggest names in the market and just an absolute beast. CRDO is another one where it's just barely pushing back above that 50-day. Another semiconductor, want to continue to just monitor it, but I do not see a setup just yet, right? GLD, looking at the gold stuff, like I talked about, they made a big move up. I was looking to short. I did get stopped out on my GDX short today because it just wasn't doing really anything too much. Market was way too strong this morning. I didn't want to sit in a bunch of shorts and anything. And you can look at like an AUGO getting super tight under a pivot, right? Double inside day, super tight. Looks like a flag to me. And then CDE is another one where it's like you're under a pivot for 5 days and then you're pushing out today. So this group's still strong. It's acting awesome. You can even look at something like an equal weight if we want to talk ETFs pushing out super nice, and then RSP is getting super tight under a pivot. Another one that looks good. Looks like it could be getting ready to go. And if you want to go back to that metals and mining gold group, right, you can look at a USAR, which I will keep an eye on this one over the prior day high. It's barely back through the 200-day. It's been building a nice first flag, nice flag setup. MP is another one, right? You got the flag setup, and then some random names. Axon, double inside day. The aerospace and defense group really hasn't been too good, but as far as a setup, I mean, it's there and it's got itself a really big base and it's super tight, so it's interesting to say the least. I did throw ANF on my list still with the inside day, and then you got Victoria's Secret, another one with an inside day. I wouldn't go for this one personally because ANF earnings is out of the way. It just had HV1 and the inside day, and I'm pretty sure ANF was a name from a few years ago that had a HV1 earnings gap up, and then the next day or two it was viable as a high volume close setup, and it made a really nice 40-50% move from there. So this name is known to do that, and it's something I want to watch tomorrow with the tight inside day today as a push through today's highs if the risk can be tight enough, right? That's pretty much going to be, you can look at like a Dell, right? Dell was awesome today. or awesome. It was nice the last 2 or 3 days, but I just don't see a setup just yet, right? It's barely pushing out of the pivot at the end of the day. It hasn't been acting too good. It's not in that right group yet. And HPE, same thing. Not my favorite. NTAP is another one. I did see this one had an inside day today. Not too bad, right under the pivot. Interesting to say the least, but not really the group I want to go for. Going to go through my list here real quick. I'll keep this short and sweet. ANF, high volume close right through Wednesday's close will be the spot I will looking to risk off of. CrowdStrike, super nice day today. I would love to see this thing consolidate. Like I said, if you were able to buy some of these gap ups and a name specifically like this, whether it was a 1 minute opening range break or just right off the open, knowing you've seen the big gap up and your risk is so small, I think that's awesome, right? You're pushing through, right? A big pivot towards like the middle of the day. Or towards the middle of the bar, but nonetheless, you see the strength, it's a big group, it's waking up, the market QQQ is getting back above its 50-day on a gap up. Not too bad there, but it wouldn't be bad to have waiting for a washout. I think that, I think it's on my list. TEM did have a little bit of a washout today, which wasn't too bad, right? You kind of had a little bit of a push and then a little bit of a washout, which was not too bad. And that wasn't my favorite. And then it's, slowly pushing over that priority, but I just don't feel too good about that one yet, but I just want to continue to keep an eye on it, right? As far as the setup, it looks good overall on the daily, but as far as buying it today, I just felt iffy about that, right? ANF, high volume close setup through the high volume close. CrowdStrike, going to be watching this one the next few days with a gap down in rubric. Is it going to pull back to the pivot? Maybe that's a spot for a breakout retest setup, or it wants to just, wash out in the morning, give a 620 setup or something, have an inside day or two. Would be super interesting to watch that. And then maybe through today's close would be another interesting spot, which also lines up with these prior highs. So would be interesting to watch this one as a high volume close. Don't know. It wasn't insanely high volume, but it was some nice volume, right? We haven't really had the highest volume ever or highest volume in a year's highest volumes to IPO names. In a few weeks, it feels like, right? There hasn't been too much, right? There's been a few, but like very select few, and ANF is one of those, so that's why I want to keep an eye on it. Frog, another one. I tried to get involved in this one. Maybe off the 50-day was a good spot, but a nice OEL gap up today. Another one that it was very possible that this was viable as an OEL setup. Super tight risk. Right off the open as a gap up. So, and it never came back, right? It had that open equals low and it acted awesome. Another one where I'll watch, it's fresh out of a base, some decent volume coming in today. So I will watch this as a high volume close. But nonetheless, these names are going to be on my list going in next week as some more setup. FTNT barely peeking its head out of a base. Maybe give us a little bit of squat for the next few days. And I want to continue to keep an eye on this one. Nice move, nice base being built overall. GH inside day today, maybe a little bit of a gap up or a pull in tomorrow, hold a double inside day or just get pushing through the pivot. And I would like to add this position. If not, it rolls over and I get stopped out of another healthcare name, and maybe healthcare is just not the place to be. MongoDB, right? Another nice gap up today. It does have EPS or its earnings report in the next 5 days, but the weekly chart looks really good on this one, and I want to continue to keep an eye on it. I like the gap up today, right? Kind of had a sharp pullback, big bounce up here, so maybe get tight in here, build a higher low setup, and we'll go for this. Moderna over today's highs as a higher low spot, right? You get your original pivot from the gap up, pivot. Will this be that second, third pivot right here through the prior day high is an area I'm watching. We'll see how it acts. We'll see how the rest of the group is acting and if this thing can go up with it. ServiceNow, big day today. I told you off that 20-day was such a good spot. I told myself, but I didn't buy it. But man, that was an awesome spot. And then you get a gap up today. I thought maybe we get an inside day or two tomorrow, but with all those gap ups, this thing was absolutely pushing. Awesome. Continue to watch this one into next week. Really nice weekly chart on a lot of these names, right? You go through a bunch of these, GH even, FTNT, big move, bullish engulfing, Frog, another one inside week, and then a bullish engulfing, Crowd, bullish engulfing, right? They're just massive moves. Continue to keep an eye and monitor this group. NVIDIA, high volume close setup, right? Through today's close will be an interesting spot. If we get a little bit of a gap down and then a push early, give me tight enough risk and something I'd be willing to go for. OKTA, a big gap, man. This thing was awesome as a pullback if you're staring at a 1 minute chart, but if you see it come down and start to bounce off, maybe you try to take it. Your risk is so small here. But the action off the open was so volatile and so many names, man. There was just too much going on, so I kind of just felt like sitting back a little bit. But nonetheless, OKTA, awesome bar today, right? Breaking out of a base, really nice volume coming in. Not the highest volume in a year, but massive weekly chart. I mean, this thing just made a 27% move. So digestion can very much be welcome, but if these things want to continue higher the next few sessions and give us a high volume close setup tomorrow, I want to keep an eye on this. PANW, same thing, right? We'll watch it as a high volume close setup, but nonetheless, a little bit. This one is another one where it's like, can it pull back in that pivot? That'll be a spot to look for an undercut and rally intraday. And that's what I'll be watching. Palantir, awesome today. I've been talking about this one the last few weeks. Beautiful right through the prior day high, right through that pivot, gave an awesome spot. This is one of the very few that I would say is real, that was really viable off the open, and just an awesome move today. So if you're able to get this one, pat yourself on the back. Beautiful setup, awesome follow through, great looking weekly chart. Love to see it. Snow, right, still, is building higher lows. Looks not too bad. Had a decent day today. And overall, weekly chart doesn't look too bad. I want to continue to monitor this one for a setup. Nonetheless, it's in a great group. Want to continue to keep it on. TEM, right? You had an inside day yesterday, a little bit of a push out today. The weekly chart is an inside week. It looks it's getting pretty tight in here. So we'll see what the action looks like tomorrow. Maybe give us one more inside day here, a little bit of a washout or something, starts to reclaim VWAP. Give us a 627. I'm getting position. This name looks awesome. ZETA, last but not least, and there's so many more that I could have thrown on this list as far as software, but new 52-week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, new 52-week highs. Man, this thing is acting awesome right out of the flag. Awesome move. Definitely was another one where it's like you get the OEL, almost the OEL off the open, but nonetheless the buyable gap up in a great group, and it acted awesome. Continue to monitor this one. Maybe a little bit of a pull tomorrow. Give us a setup the next few days. These names look awesome and made beautiful moves today. So feels like the start of a potential character change. The index is gapping higher. QQ claimed. The key moving average is right. SPY is confirming higher by beginning to build higher lows. I'm staying focused on software, as you guys have seen, cybersecurity first, right? While also paying close attention to anything else emerging, whether it's biotech continuing higher, crypto emerging, gold emerging, and possibly setting up semiconductors if they want to join. It's not what we're seeing yet, but if that happens, right? We'll see. But if a stock offers a clean daily setup with tight definable risks, then I think it's worth taking, especially if it's in that group that I've mentioned and that is strong on a 1 to 3 month relative strength list, right? You got the market now, and now you got to just find the setups and the tight risk. That's exactly what I'll be looking for. But at the same time, some stuff might be coming extended, right? Crypto related stuff and software could be a few days from some of these becoming, kind of extended where you don't want to be chasing, right? So avoid chasing, stay selective, keep risk tight, focus on the big RS groups. Relative strength is, it's the secret to everything. So hope you all have a great weekend. There will be no video tomorrow since it's Friday and the markets will be closed for the weekend, but I will see you all Sunday night. Hope you all have a great weekend. Peace.